Um, hey, welcome everybody. It's Bob Henkel, Program Director here at Earth Day 365. And super happy that you wanted to join us today on this rainy Tuesday. Happy that everybody's a part of wanting to be part of the reuse sector. Recycling Extravaganza beyond the blue bin is who we are right now. And we started at Earth Day 365 a program called Recycling Extravaganza, in which we had up to 20 different collectors of really random materials that could be reused, repurposed, or sustainably taken care of, like prescription drugs, which need to not go down the toilet or the drain, but need to be disposed of properly through an incinerator. So make sure that our waterways are clean. So people like P2D2 would come, and Perennial would come, and people would collect yoga supplies or home remodeling kinds of materials that could be reused. And so we gathered a whole mess of collectors together. These two presenters today, Katie Carpenter, Perennial, and Susan Blandford of St. Louis Teachers Recycle Center, have been with us for many years during that event. And thanks to funding from the Solid Waste Management District of St. Louis and Jefferson County, we have been able to get funding for trying to keep materials out of the landfill, trying to work our way up. Remember that it's reduce, reuse, and then recycle. And so a lot of folks tend to focus on the recycling aspect, and we need to really come up the ladder to know that there's a whole reuse sector. People are reusing stuff in their homes, remodeling, people are doing upcycled crafts, people are really trying to figure out creative ways to manage materials appropriately so that they don't just end up going away, which, like, where is away? Away, like into a trash bin? I'm glad that you didn't put it on the ground to litter, but really we want to be accountable and manage our waste sustainably, such that it's not just waste anymore. These are resources that we can continue to use and get the most out of, which is kind of an upstream battle in our disposable society, in which we kind of create things so that there's planned obsolescence to make us having to buy, like more of these, like after a couple of years, you got to get a new one. All right. So there's all these wonderful people in the sector around St. Louis. I've got two wonderful people today that are going to share what's going on in their organizations, how you can get in touch with them, how you can connect with their programs to really manage creative reuse. So that's me in a nutshell. Bob Henkel with Earth Day 365. Happy you all are here. We're going to start off with Katie Carpenter with Perennial. I'll let her introduce herself, and she's going to share her screen and we'll get going. If you have any questions for our presenters, feel free to put those into the chat and we will be able to ask them to them. We're kind of a small group too, so might ask you just to unmute yourself and ask your question too. But thanks so much for being here. Go ahead, Katie.
Awesome. Well, I am excited to be here and talk about Perennial. Thanks so much for having me, Bob, and Earth Day 365. I am going to pull up a little slideshow, but it's pretty basic. So just going to open that up. Whoop. Come here. Nope. Hold on, guys. It went all the way to the end. Hold on.
And that's it for Katie.
We're done.
Thanks so much.
Okay. So yeah, as Bob mentioned, I'm the executive director over at Perennial. I have been here for just about to celebrate my 2-year anniversary in this role, but I was a volunteer with Perennial for many years before I got to take on this exciting position after our founder, Jenny Murphy, which some of you may or may not have been familiar with. So this is kind of our unofficial tagline, transforming objects, lives, and communities. And how we do that looks like a lot of different programs. Our mission is to build a creative culture of sustainability in which discarded items are transformed into valued and cherished resources. And we do that, like I said, in a lot of ways, but primarily by teaching people the creative skills they need to feel empowered to engage in creative reuse. So when we got started, Perennial is actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year. And over that span of 10 years, we have diverted, and the participants in our programs have diverted over 40,000 pounds from the landfill. And that's just from when we started counting it. So it's probably not everything, but it's a pretty good number. And that's pretty exciting when you think that some of those pounds diverted are things like t-shirts and fabric scraps. Sometimes they're big projects like DIY compost tumblers or rain barrels, and those get a lot heavier. But altogether, that 40,000 pounds is something that we just keep growing every year and are really excited about. But when we started about 10 years ago, we would go into a room and say, has anybody heard of upcycling? And almost nobody would raise their hands. And by the time we said creative reuse, it was pretty much no one. But now that's pretty uncommon. People know what we're talking about and they're excited, and they are excited to share examples of how they repurpose things in their own homes. And it can be everything from, just reusing jars as Tupperware to things that are a lot more elaborate, like turning old jeans into aprons. That's just an example that's right here. So when we talk about all these things, they are all in that same realm: upcycling, repurposing, and creative reuse. So don't get caught up by the language. It's not worth it. You are in the reuse movement if you're doing any of these things, which is exciting. So our workshop is located at 3762 South Broadway. If you have just heard about us in the last year, probably you've heard about our virtual classes, but we are excited to start welcoming people back into our physical workshop space in really limited groups. We're also preparing an outdoor classroom in the backyard. But we're in South City, and we have both what we call a reuse classroom, like a reuse workshop, where we do things like leatherworking, sewing, paper arts, stained glass. Really, if we can find a teaching artist who's excited about reuse and they have a creative proposal, we are excited to teach that class. And then we also, when we moved into this space, expanded to have our own workshop that boasts a table saw and bandsaw, chop saw, a lathe. So we host Tools 101 classes on each of those things every month. So it's a really great space to sort of dip your toe in the water if that's something that you've been wanting to try. And we are also, well, I'll talk about that later. So like a lot of the examples I've been mentioning, we offer public classes. We usually host probably 30 classes a month. So there's probably something there that would be fun and exciting. Like I said, we've been mostly virtual for the last year. We are continuing to offer virtual classes, but like I said, starting to integrate back into some in-person ones. All different mediums. Mostly our classes are geared towards adults, which is a little bit different than a lot of the art offerings in St. Louis, but we think it's really important for adults to explore their creativity as well. And we like to really be a space where people feel comfortable, where both creativity and sustainability don't seem, or we can take some of the intimidation out of those two things, because I think for adults that can be something that has sort of, we haven't left a lot of time for. And I think we love meeting people where they are in those conversations, and how we can just keep getting a little bit better at forming new habits. So we also offer outreach programs. So in addition to our nonprofit mission being about sustainability and creativity, we also partner with social service agencies to that serve women at different transitional points in their lives to offer free DIY workshops that we go to those agencies and provide every month. And we also invite women in those programs into our studio for kind of open studio times where they can work on their own projects that they might find on Pinterest, or a lot of women are at points where they might be moving into new housing, and so they want to work on their own furniture. And so there's some really cool things there. Something that's really neat about that program is just by using reclaimed materials, folks really start to feel empowered by the fact that they can, use their own resourcefulness to create things that they really love and are potentially very functional as well. So folks really like decorating their spaces, making gifts, and really starting to build furniture, which is really cool. We also offer a program called Community Workshop. We are actually in the process of revising this right now, but it will be, as we transition back into it after this summer, will be a time that anyone can drop in and work on their own projects. So things that are a little more self-led, where you might just need the space or the tools, or you might want to ask one or two questions, but you're excited to get it done and meet some other people that are also passionate about reuse and creativity. So those are really fun, but we want to make sure they are offered at times that work for people and that we have the staff to support it. We also host a program called Community Clothing Swaps. We do these every other month, actually, in our space. They used to be giant events that were sort of free-for-alls, where we were sorting donations in real time, and folks were taking what they wanted. Now during COVID, we've had to reduce that because we used to have like 120 people, and that is not safe. So we are still having them, but people are signing up for designated time slots, and all of the donations are set out in advance. But we usually we weigh those pounds as well. We usually save about 500 to 1,000 pounds from the landfill with each event. And these are such a cool example of really how we can start to emphasize the circular economy and really find a new home for things, extend the life of things, rather than just getting rid of things or donating that somewhere where you're not really sure where they're going. So these are really popular. We've got one coming up in June, if that's something anybody is interested in being a part of. We do private events. We've been doing a lot of virtual private events. These are great for kind of corporate lunch and learns if you're interested in learning a little bit more about sustainability and reuse, but maybe doing a little craft project to go along with it. We are not yet open to have those in our space yet, but we will be working on that in the next couple months. And then if you ever just want to stop by and check the space and check out what's here, we're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 to 5 for retail shopping of our salvaged supplies. A lot of them are $1 a pound. We sell traditional things like fabric and yarn, traditional craft supplies, and reclaimed wood, but we also sell things that are sort of great for reuse and repurposing, like toilet paper tubes or bottle caps. So if you've ever got a project in mind that you're interested, come by and shop, but also just come by and see the space and meet us. We love showing it off. It's really beautiful. And I can say that because I didn't do most of the build out. That was pretty much Jenny and our woodshop specialist. So, and then just to give you kind of a flavor of what's coming up in the next month or so, we've got like I said, kind of blending the virtual and in-person stuff. So we've got a virtual crochet rag rug kit that we use upcycled bed sheets and t-shirts to teach that class. We've got a virtual intro to whittling class that has been really popular over the pandemic. Have a lot of people getting into whittling, which is neat. We have a discussion about designing and building your own outdoor furniture. These two classes, the herbal salves from the garden class and our DIY rain barrel class, those will both be held outdoors. And then we do have a vintage bookbinding class, which is a really great technique to learn how to repurpose some of those beautiful books you might find, but aren't getting used. So that's a great project, and that'll be in person. Yeah, so that's a little bit about us as an organization, and I'm excited to answer questions and hear more as we get into kind of the reuse conversation about all of this. Everything we teach is with upcycled or reclaimed items. Over the pandemic, it has been really an exercise in how to stay mission centric while still serving our community. So for most of our virtual classes, they have come with kits of materials that people are still coming by to pick up, and then they are tuning in virtually to take these classes. And even in just that, it's like, how do we not buy a bunch of jars and plastic bags and containers for how we need to transport some of this stuff? How do we get little amounts of glue to a lot of people and not create more waste? And our team here has been pretty successful in figuring out, let's use glass spice jars, let's use prescription pill bottles, let's find baby food jars. And those have been great. And we've seen a really great response from our participants who have thanked us for trying to stay as waste-free as possible when still giving people those skills to transform items they might otherwise throw away. So that's kind of it on my slideshow, but I am happy to answer questions or to wait and answer questions after Bob or after Susan talks. Did Bob leave? Did we kick him out?
Hey, so Bob is having a little bit of computer trouble, so
okay.
I am here to host in his stead as he tries to work that out.
Okay.
Thank you, Katie. That was a great presentation. And does anyone have questions for Katie before we move on to talk to Susan? Is that the structure? Do you want to take some questions right now?
Either way, I'm happy to do either one. So
okay. Why don't we take a quick question if there are any? Otherwise, we'll just have a discussion afterwards.
Yeah, no problem. Feel free to add it in the chat.
Yeah, let's see how the chat is going. Yep, nothing in the chat. Okay. So let's move on to Susan. Thanks so much for being here, Susan. And if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about your organization and your role in it. I loved visiting recently your new space, newish space in the mall, and getting to see all of the ways that you've been adapting to COVID. So please tell us all about it.
Well, I am the founding executive director, and wait till you say 28 years, you feel so old, but I'll be 70 this year. So I got turtle tenacity, and I say that's really what you need. If you've ever been to the beach and you've watched them go a little further down because it didn't feel like the right place to lay their eggs. I've been going to 17 different locations in the last 28 years for need of people would donate space, and then, you know, they need their space back. So I feel somewhat like a turtle with my shell on my back and ready to go. But yeah, I've had some pretty amazing people in my life, board members as well as colleagues that worked for us at times, and we've passed not only locally but internationally the idea of reuse, because the Italian educators came from Reggio Emilia, which is a early childhood program, and they visited my site, and I was in Limburg School District in a building just off the side of the kindergarten, but I started in my garage. So from where I was to the 4,000 square feet spaces I have in the mall, I keep going. My husband keeps going, we're never moving again. I said, never say never, dear. So you just have to know that reuse and the respect that people show when they give you a space to do it is a huge step in being a success. And it never actually comes out the other end as the way you thought it was going to. Because when I thought back to when I was starting, I wish it was as short a time to get going as it was. But I see what I've done with Earth Day, and I have been there for 28 years to every outdoor, here comes the tornado, we're building boats in a pond, and to missing it this year, because there is actually a community of people that feel like family. And when you don't get to be with your family for a long time, no COVID, that can't keep going. So I'm glad that we're getting past this. I've had to reinvent the wheel because we had a location in Lime and we had to close that because we could just not manage both of them with a decline in our visitors. But the mall just opened up and said, well, we've got these other spaces if anybody wants them. And they were going to close my end of the mall. And I'm going, okay, we're moving again. But the spaces are amazing. I do not have a slideshow. We could not pass that along to you for some reason. I'm somewhat technically challenged. Anybody that wants to volunteer on the technical end of this, I would love it. But we do have volunteers that come in and they might be somewhat challenged, but they jar, like you were saying, those baby food jars and those kinds of jars. People are washing them out, cleaning them, giving them to us, and we're putting beads and buttons, and so they are in our marketplace. We keep about 10,000 pounds every 6 months out of a landfill. I don't know exactly when that all, started. It feels like I've moved 10,000 pounds over the years. And I think reuse is important because I think we have to back it up about the reuse education and have people understand that the only way you're going to pick up a can and put it with a recycling is because you feel you have some worth. And you have to have self-worth before you can care for anything outside of yourself. So my workshops with early childhood in our play studio, and it's called Play Your Art Out, and it's not about playing to make art, although it happens, it's playing to find out the art of who you are. So all the mindfulness and everything that's going into classrooms now, we want to bring recycled materials that children can fiddle with and think about what they're thinking about, because we want thinkers at the end of it. We don't want someone who gets an A on a test and a big paycheck. We want children to see themselves as thinkers and problem solvers, because you need that in this as well. So I have a video that we're going to have shown here. It is on my website, so there'll be the link to that as well. But it kind of gives you my history of where I'm at without the slideshow of the new place. So you'll have to come see me at the new place. Can you do that, Bob?
Well, sorry that my computer kind of went bonkers on me, but we put the video link to your website in the chat. And so if folks want to watch that 2-minute video on their own, they can for sure. I can't do it through this computer because the audio hasn't been working on here. So I really apologize that my computer just went under. But it's a beautiful video that Susan had put together that shows her space and all of the wonderful objects that she works with. So
yeah, and the play studio as well. And both of those spaces have doubled in size.
Yeah, so the YouTube link is up. And I know that Katie, they had a question around, we are actually all full up on bottle caps at the moment. Oh, that you did answer that. Thank you for monitoring that.
Bring them to the St. Louis Teachers Recycle Center. Just
there you go.
And sort them by color. And if you cannot, put them in a big paper bag. We also discourage anything coming in a Ziploc plastic bag. People want to separate. We take oatmeal containers, you can put them in that. Anything that could be reused through our program, we encourage people when they call with a donation to think about what it is that they're putting it in to bring it in. And so here, I know there's the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and recycle. Here's mine. Remember, when you shop, because that's really reducing, you have to remember first what you're doing and think about it, and then reinvent for reuse. Reinvent what it is. people will come in and I go, well, I need 12 of these because we're making puppets and I need eyes. I go, can you just give kids the material and say, I don't know what you're going to do with this. And then after they play, you come in with your puppet. And I had a person come in and she got these things that look like teddy bear punch outs from an industry. And she wanted to do teddy bears. I said, I'll give you these if you take them back to your class and just give them to the kids. And this child had put sand on one corner and a boat over. He did a deserted island. I said, do you realize you would have had 12 teddy bears and now you have a deserted island? Whose idea? That was where the thinking came in about reuse, is that if we give everybody the same thing, and I think material has a language. And so we used to make crafts because we needed it. Like that person needs a piece of furniture or they need an apron. But if you go to McDonald's, there's a toy in every box. And now we all think we got to have them all. So the idea of reuse, for me anyway, is when you make something with somebody, it's more important that the idea comes from them or they can use it. They see it as a tool to be able to be used. So, and then the last one, which is my best one, recycle, is re-engage. Re-engage with each other. I think the arrows going around really should have a heart in the middle, because that's what I call the extravaganza, is we re-engage with each other again. And I think that's a big thing. The heart of all of this is because we care about the earth and we care about each other. So there's my little song.
That's so beautiful. I love that. So often I ask people, even when I'm interviewing new staff, I say, can you come up with some other RE words around reuse? And both you and Katie have just like resourcefulness and reimagine and re-engage and remodel. You know, there's like so many, remember. I mean, these are beautiful pieces that you're bringing into this conversation around, you know, just us as a society. Let's come back and remember how we work together and cooperate and collaborate with each other.
Yeah, and I think just to chime in there, something that we realize from our community members coming in and learning is that at first, some of these things don't seem super convenient because it's not how our lifestyle is set up. And so the more work you can do to learn what other people have done, like I love that re-engagement piece that Susan just said, because chances are someone has thought through a new habit or a new system and they are so excited to tell you about it. And so I think that there is some nuance here to you know, retrain your brain to think through these steps differently of, oh, something broke. What do? I just go buy another one. Well, how do you fix it? Or how do you use those pieces in a new way? We have to start thinking about things differently to make reuse kind of our go-to thought process. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of organizations in St. Louis and a lot of people who are really committed to doing that and really eager to share the lessons they've learned, which has been great.
Yeah, thanks so much, Katie. Susan, did you have something that you wanted to add to that?
I wanted to add the fact that playing together, because my big thing is about my play workshop and being able to, we have a van called Van Go, and we go out in the community with the van. And right now it's full of books and I'm in a parade tomorrow and it's my anniversary. And don't ask me how many years, it's been a lot. But, and so, you know, being able to take the message of reuse, but kids used to be able to go to Earth Day and walk on and get a gently used book. And then we called it the great reread outside. So I said, and one little kid said he wouldn't go to the next thing with his mom. He goes, I'm supposed to sit outside and read this book. I'm going, okay, well, maybe not that fast, but it's just being able to play together. Not seeing us, you know, because business often is more, this is my business, I got to put my head to the grindstone and I got to keep going and I can, but I don't feel that when I'm in the community of reusers, because they see each other as a resource. And to be able to do that, you have to play together. And I would totally love to bring my van to Perennial and go out and have kids play. You know, my play workshop, I just had some teachers come from Illinois that took it 6 years ago, and now they're doing it in the state of Illinois themselves, but they work for the state and they're trying to get play back into kindergarten with reusable material. And I'm going, you don't know the impact you're going to have, Katie, when somebody walks in and they say, you know, if it wasn't for your class, your program, I wouldn't have blocks from my classroom. You know, and you're just like, everybody, especially educators, are very strapped. Well, we're all strapped at some point for finances anymore. I know the challenge is keeping my program open, and what we've done, and which my community of reusers are doing, is setting up an appointment with me. I will get in my truck and a car, and I will go over to the mall, and I'll turn on the lights that cost too much, and I try not to turn them all on, and they pay me $5. And I said, that's reciprocal. That's respect for what I do. And I'll come. You want to come at 5 at night? You know, I'm not doing anything. Well, I'm not always not doing anything, but you know, that's kind of where we're going with it. And we're slowly saying more people can be in the center, and we're getting more volunteers. But the mall, yeah, sadly but truly, I see its demise as well. So you never know. I feel like somebody keeps putting a stone in the path. And I just go, really, Shirley, I'm supposed to move in the mall again, really? And then we did. And
So, sometimes that stone in the path helps you keep your feet out of the mud.
well, I know. Well, sometimes they sit on the stone and play in the mud, but
Yeah, I thought that's what you would do.
but yeah, it is not just me that got it this far. It's my family, my poor husband, and my kids. And recently our space flooded. We got 2 inches of water last month and a half ago, and Woodard's came in and sucked all the water out, and there were gallons. But my son worked there, so you know, you start tapping that. But it's turtle tenacity. I just won't. I came in and I actually walked through the water and cried. And then I picked myself up and said, you can do this, just dry it out. And people come in recently who have really respected the program and offered to volunteer and to help. So yeah, I definitely want to go see Perennial. I haven't been there in a while, probably since the first place y'all were.
Oh yeah, please come by, Susan. We would love to have you. And like I said in my email the other day, we just this week had somebody drop by here raving about how good your space is looking. And yeah, I love these connecting programs. And Amy, your comment is totally right that I don't feel competitive with other organizations. There's so much to be done. And I feel like we're all, you know, working at max capacity and trying to share resources as efficiently as possible, which is kind of our thing anyway, I guess. But I love the kind of sustainability network in St. Louis, but we need more people to just make a bigger impact. One thing I was going to say about some of the impact that Susan's been able to have is that one thing that's sort of been missing for us this past year is work with kids and work with youth, because mostly when we are able to do that, it's through community programs like festivals and fairs and, partnerships with places like the Magic House or botanical gardens. And a lot of that was shut down this year. And so just kind of didn't happen within our programming, but it is, I've forgotten how comforting it is to have those workshops, because kids get this stuff immediately, which makes me feel very optimistic and hopeful. Where, like I said, sometimes creativity and sustainability are things that adults are having to rethink about and relearn. And there's a little bit of this like, oh, I need to be convincing people when I'm talking to them for the first time. But kids are just like, yeah, why are you lecturing me? Like, of course I go to my recycling bin to get my art materials. Like that they're always there. There's always something to draw on. There's always something to build with and create. And that's been really helpful. And I've missed it. So thanks for bringing it up, Susan, because it's a good reminder.
Yeah, we at Earth Day 365, we had our celebration kits that we handed out, and basically we gave kids a chunk of clay. And we had one idea, like you could go out, put a clay on the side of a tree and add natural objects to make a forest face. But you know, kids started like making little like fungus coming out of the tree. They added stuff. Even, you know, like my niece and nephew, they made bowls and then created a little habitat for a little figurine that came from the St. Louis aquarium. So it's like, this is my stingray tank. And, you know, stingray can go inside this clay bowl that I made with all these little kinds of obstacles inside it. So like Susan, what you were saying is all you got to do is just give the kids some material and let their imagination go. And who knows what they're going to come up with.
And
So I love that
oftentimes
idea.
it's better than what you thought of. And one of our projects right now is the Bridges of Hope project. And they've gone to California, Florida, but to adults. And the idea is to take this bridge, which is a ruler in 3 wine corks. And believe me, there's lots of wine corks from the pandemic. You put those on as the pylons, and it's just a wood, well, I got one here. It's a wood ruler like this that we got from somebody, the Lung Association, many years ago, and we have hundreds of them. And so the idea is to take this bridge and design it someplace you hope to go, or you hope for the world to realize. And we need bridges to each other. And so the project is starting to be compiled and put in, because there's companies that want to sponsor it. And we'll send these to anybody. Right now, to get enough for 10 kids is $5. And that's enough wine corks, enough. If you want them constructed where we put the pylons on, then they're $1 each. They're individually bagged and we can hand them out. But I think we have to start with the adults to model for children, not so much on how to make it, but really what can happen. So I had a little child take this at first night, and that's when this whole thing started. And they put a heart right in the middle. Then they put on this side grandma and grandpa, and over here great grandma and grandpa. And under here they put heaven. They wanted to go to heaven to see them. I had a newlywed couple build this bridge, and it said it's for bridges over troubled water. So in my slideshow, I had a whole bunch of kids making bridges and adults making bridges. So, which for those that don't know, technically challenged didn't happen today, but I'm working on it because I'm gonna make it happen. I got turtle tenacity, so I'll stay with it until it does come to fruition. But if anybody wants bridges, we can send them out. Yeah, I would say a bridge to anybody.
Susan, I don't know if you want to answer this too. Someone in the chat had asked me about donations, and a lot of times that's the first question we get when people hear about Perennial. And we do, like I mentioned in the chat, keep a list, a kind of updated list of what we're accepting based on what classes are coming up and what programs we're doing. And yeah, there's things we're always accepting and sometimes things that are super specific. But I think a challenge is also that we have limited storage space, and sometimes it can be overwhelming when people like don't check that list or don't give us a call and end up just kind of dropping things off, because we know everyone has the best intentions, but it is really heartbreaking to come to our space and see a bag of stuff left on our loading dock that we can't use, and then need to figure out where that would go or fit. So yeah, Amy, totally. So I don't know, Susan, I don't know what you are looking for in terms of donations, or if you have that challenge ever as well.
I do, because we used to take a lot more, and now it's just me, and the volunteers come when they come. So this is the thing, they make an appointment. They send me a list of what they have, or they can take a picture of their pile, and I will let them know what I can use and that it needs to be washed. It usually goes in the back of the play studio for a few days until now, not so much. We're not washing our potato chip bags anymore, so it's not as much of a concern, but I still ask for it to be cleaned, washed. If it had food in it, it doesn't smell like that food. We do not take egg cartons, we do not take toilet paper rolls, but we will take paper towel rolls. So when they call to make their appointment, we go through this with them, which helps, because just before we would give, you know, kind of credit for how many pounds you gave us. And then somebody gave us this wonderful stuff back when I was in Crestwood Plaza. And I went to look at it, and there was cement from their broken up driveway in the bottom. So for me, that's not respectful. And so I try to be not judgmental about what you have, but it has to be cleaned, it has to be sorted. I mean, now people have that more, you know, because of COVID, they understand when I say, you know, it has to be wiped down, washed off. I just personally don't have the time to do that. And I appreciate them bringing their stuff clean and organized, because it's going to kids.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I mean, I have artists that come in and get stuff. So that whole respect for the environment has to start with the respect of what you're trying to do. And you're not trying to clean out your basement and give me everything you ever had that you're not using. You can put it in a jar, wash a jar, put it in there for me, or you keep your buttons and your beads and everything separate. And I have my people that come pick all that stuff up, and it comes back in jars, and we price it, and it's back out on the floor. So yeah, it's just, it's an education process in that we're not a landfill. Basically, we're really trying to keep things out that can go out the door.
Yeah, I really appreciate that comment. Just like keep things clean. Don't just give people your trash and your you know, dirty stuff. Question for you both: do you accept cash too as a donation?
Actually, we do have our thing. It's called FAN, and it's Fund a Need. So that's you can become a fan, and that's on our website. So yeah, financially, that always helps. We turn it right back around, and we'll give bridges away. You can actually say what you want to fund on our page. And the Bridge Project is one of the ones that, you know, that gives the art right back out. But it's also time consuming. You've got rent, you've got heat, you know, you do have some employees. I'm the only employee right now, but yeah.
Cash.
Yeah. Yeah, we take that too. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to support Perennial. Honestly, just taking a class is a great way to support Perennial, and you get a lot out of it too. But if you're looking to go that extra mile, or you're like ready to sign up for a whole bunch of classes this summer because you are ready to learn some new skills and try some new hobbies, a great way to support Perennial is with a membership, because Perennial members get 20% off of classes. So if you're taking a couple, that adds up pretty fast, and is another way to be a big supporter of what we do. Yeah. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, our play studio also is the fundraiser for the Recycle Center side, because we do birthday parties, field trips, scout meetings. And yeah, we have a couple. And when I moved, I've had 4 since the pandemic events in there. And now we have actually field trips coming in July, which is what we were doing before, which is fantastic.
What ages are you working with, Susan?
3 to 103.
I love it. Okay.
As long as they don't put things in their mouth. But then I had some wonderful patients with Alzheimer's who were challenged with Alzheimer's, and it was wonderful to watch the lights come on in their eyes. They gave them paint, and it was too close to lunch. So mustard looks like yellow and ketchup looks like red. But you know, yeah. What we service all age groups. One little boy was 7, and he came up and pulled on my apron. He said, "You know, you just can't be wrong in here." I said, "That's exactly the feeling I want to give."
Oh, that's so precious. I love that, Susan. You just can't be wrong in here.
I had a young girls. They were in 7th and 8th grade. They came in and did the workshop. And I asked them, we do a slideshow presentation at the end as a reflection. And I said, does anybody have anything they want to say? And this young girl was not flip about what she said. She said, I believe this is as quiet as I've been since the day I was born. And if you can take a teenager there in their head, because we know as adults, you need that. It's not just a happy thing to be able to do. You need to be able to reflect and go inside. I mean, we're doing all this yoga and everything, and you get to be my age, and Oprah says, you know, well, Oprah's old now, but Oprah said, you know, live in the moment. And we forgot how, because everybody kept rushing us to the next level, the next class, the next whatever. And when you're with art and when you're with your own thoughts, you're in the moment. So that's what we do. I swear that reuse is more than, or this recycling stuff and reuse and reduce is more. It really is re-engage with the human spirit, if nothing else.
That is a great place to leave us, I think, with that thought there, Susan. And Katie Carpenter of Perennial and Susan Blandford of the St. Louis Teachers Recycle Center. Super grateful for all you are offering to our region, our community. You know, bringing the heart and expanding the heart is what you all are doing. And so just really appreciate you all. If anybody has any other last questions before we go. Marcia, good to see you out here. Kathy, good to see you. Thanks for showing up. Connie, Amy, and Becky, thanks for being here. Really appreciate you.
Next time,
What was that, Susan?
I'm going to come. You can show me how to do that, Katie. Next time, my slideshow will be up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll make it happen, Susan. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bob. Thanks everybody for being here. Yeah, great to talk to you guys.
Need a playground. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.